Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday morning Rise and Shine. How's everybody doing? Let's see who jumps in here with us. See who's joining us. As you can see, Brian, good morning. As you can see, I am situated in front of the new set so far, what we have going. Corner to corner there. It's coming along, about ready to start doing videos again. Doing some recording. Machinist, good morning. We're going to be cutting copper again. Working some more on the DIY steel kits. We've made some tweaks to the last time we did some copper cutting and folding and all of that, and kind of working the kinks out. We might even get to do some soldering today, which will be pretty awesome. Probably going to set up some cameras, get a little video of it, maybe do some time-lapse stuff. David, good morning. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Those are, I enjoy figuring that type of stuff out. Just really excited to get through their prototype business so we can start building DIY steel kits, put them on the website. Flatland, good morning. Oh, I left this live open, didn't I? That's all right. Frank, good morning. Fearless leader. Larry, good morning. Thank you. Yeah, I think the burlap turned out real good. I'm also going to put a shelf back there. I'm going to hang those lights that Motor City made for us. The Still in the Clear light, the Shine On Festival light, and I'll probably put the Bush Latte light on there, although that is officially Zach's light. And he can take it home whenever he wants to take it home. Mail carrier has not picked up in 2 days, which is kind of a bummer. So we've got a big load of orders. We're just going to take them to the post office today, make sure they get out. I've stayed late Monday and Tuesday waiting on the carrier, but I also know that this time of year is real busy for them, and it's possible they would have come by later than 5:30. I just wasn't waiting any longer. Back porch, good morning. Yeah, the studio is coming along. Thank you. How's the DIY copper steel project coming? It's coming pretty good. We've got, we're going to be cutting and shaping some copper today. We might even solder a pot together today. So yeah, we've done a couple of designs already, kind of tweaking the measurements, getting them just right. Some of the process, kind of figuring it out, and yeah, we've also got to finish building our clamp today, kind of our specialized tool that we're building specifically for clamping copper for soldering seams. We got to get that done today. Well, we don't have to get any of it done today, but I would like to have it done today. Flatland says, now I'm on my right account. Yeah. Boom, good morning. So a lot happening here. possibly by end of day tomorrow, well, no, by end of the week, we should have a full copper steel built as sort of the Gen 1 prototype. Mud Grips, good morning. Mud Grips, that triple scale ever show up, brother? Yeah, so Gen 1 prototype is going to be a 5-gallon still with a Liebig. Very simple. It's going to have a 4-inch tri-clamp cap, and it's going to have copper unions to connect the Liebig to the cap. Joe, good morning. Sweet Joe. Still waiting, but my mail carrier is sporadic. Every other day it seems like. Okay. That's fantastic. Are you going to make like tool and die templates to crank out those patterns? No, we're actually, for right now, we have a local guy who has a CNC plasma cutter, and we're going to pay him to cut all the pieces. So that's step one for right now. And then as the process builds, as we get sales, we're going to purchase our own plasma cutter, cut them ourselves in-house. So that's the idea. No tool and die. Last day of week for 2 weeks. Hell yeah, nice little vacation. Donated plasma once. Okay. I think I did too, back in college, it seems like. They gave me like $30 or something like that. Yeah. That's a good idea. That's why I asked. It could be time consuming with hand yeah, for sure. We're just doing the stuff by hand through the prototyping process. Once we've got our design dialed in and down exactly the way we want it, we're going to send it off. We're going to farm that part of it out, at least for now. Yeah, if we had to hand cut all the pieces, we wouldn't be able to get the cost down to make it affordable, you know, and still be able to make a little bit of profit. So yeah, the hand cutting is just for now. And then also, once we have the design dialed in exact, then the CNC cutter is going to be more precise than you can be with a hand cutter anyway. I don't know who all has seen or not seen the area that we got set up. But this is our space for doing the cutting. We've got a table here that's carpeted to have our copper on, and then This is the part where, we got a drill press, we got a bead roller, and a slip roller, seam roller, and then over here on this side, we've got our brake. And so that's the area for now. Looking pretty good. Got that beautiful sheet of copper. Huh? What? Looks good, looks good. You should number the first 50 with your signature. That's a wild idea. We should number them though. I like that idea. Just a simple stamp, that's pretty cool. Wish I had a metal cutting laser. They're cost prohibitive. Have to stick with my CNC plasma. Yeah. Curious about the demand. I assume you would not be doing it unless there was already a demand. So thanks for answering my question. Truth is, I am assuming there is a demand. That assumption comes from just knowing the community, talking with people, and I think the demand is there. I've not proven that. Is an assumption that the demand is there. But so here's the thing. When somebody wants to get into steel build, hold on, let me catch up on. Holly in the house, good morning. So if somebody wants to get into distilling, they have a few options. And if the person is unsure about the hobby, but they want to test the waters, it's a Weaver. Weaver is the entry level steel. They're very inexpensive. For like $150, $100, you can get a steel from Weaver. The problem is they're finicky and they're hard to run sometimes, and people almost always end up upgrading from a Weaver to some other type of steel. And so that some other type of steel might be a milk can steel from Mile High, or a copper steel from one of the builders, like Copper Steel Co. or North Georgia. But those are expensive. Those are $1,000 and more typically. And so I think there is a market for that in between the $150 Weaver and the $1,000 Copper Steel Co., North Georgia, 13 Steels, like all of those guys. I think there's a spot in the middle where someone with a little bit of skill, that they know how to solder, or they're confident enough that they could solder, would buy a kit with pre-made pieces, and that price range for that kit is going to fall in between that Weaver and that custom built steel. And so I think there is a market for it. We'll find out for sure. I could be wrong. There's no doubt that I could be wrong, because it happened once before. There was that time back in '83 where I was wrong. Turned out I was just mistaken though. I love your drive and confidence in what you believe. Yeah, well, confidence might not be the right word. Ignorance fits sometimes. I think you're right, brother, GTD says. And the condenser is a joke, and you are 100% on upgrade. I found a homemade one on Marketplace for $125, but I just got lucky. Yeah, that is lucky. So, you find I found a homemade one. Yeah, $125 is pretty cheap. You're not typically going to find one for that. Yeah, and not everyone has the budget to go out there and get it North Georgia. And, you know, I'm not saying anything bad about North Georgia. They deserve every dollar they get for their steels. They're high quality, they're a great company. Same with a lot of the builders out there. They're worth what they're worth, you know, but that's just not everyone's budget. So if you're willing to put in some of the labor yourself, you can get one for quite a bit less money. Yeah, Beavers, there's nothing wrong with a Beaver. They're entry level, and they are. I'm glad they're around, because if they weren't around, a lot of people who would think about getting into distilling, they don't, just because of the cost. And so, because they're so inexpensive, it allows people to jump into the hobby, you know, with not a lot of investment up front. Wrong about being wrong. Yeah, it was back in '83. Won't know unless you get them built to sell. Got my respect for putting a kid out there to sell. Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of what entrepreneurship is. You're always looking around the corner, making predictions, and gambling on what you think is going to happen. That's being in business for yourself, no matter what it is you're doing. Ran ran two batches of cereal, proof down to 190. Hell yeah, Larry. Oh, my nose is itching. What the hell's going on today? I wonder what your competition will be like. How many other people are offering DIY? I have found two other companies that offer a DIY still. Um, One of them is not a great company. One of them has a bad reputation in the community, and the other is a great company with a great reputation. But I think the design is a poor design, and I'm talking about Clawhammer Supply. They're a great company with a good reputation, but their design, I'll just say, I think it's lacking. The condenser is way too short, and it comes right down next to the pot, which is not a great idea. You're trying to cool down your vapor, and you're running the condenser right next to the pot you're trying to heat up. So I think I can make a better design. And as far as the other company goes, it's not even competition, if you ask me. Although their steel kits are more similar to what we are trying to produce. Came out great and smooth. Man, that's awesome. I'm a big fan of the cereal bourbons. Wish they'd been around when I built mine from the trash. I don't like it being that close to the pot. Anybody heard of the fire hazard? Yeah, that's another hazard too. If your vapors are coming out really close to the pot and you're running on an open flame, whether it's propane or just wood fire, there is a hazard there if if you're not constantly babysitting your still, because you can walk away from a still. There can be a problem with the water pump, and all of a sudden you just got vapor pouring out the end of your condenser, and if that's too close to the flame, that's a real hazard. You're not supposed to walk away from your steel, by the way. I have done it, and it's caused problems, and I try not to do it at all anymore. Got a cereal with everything in the house in mind, with 3 pounds oats, apple juice, cinnamon sticks, and the mash. Everything but the kitchen sink in there. I didn't buy the Clawhammer because of the condenser. Plus, I'm always the first to do stuff all myself. Yeah, I agree with that, machinist. Claw normally runs bigger stills. Everything falling out in my all grain except the cap. It's being stubborn. It'll eventually. So the connections, Dave, the cap, it's going to have a 4-inch cap on the 5-gallon, and that's going to be a tri-clamp. So for cleaning and everything like that, I'm not putting a drain valve on it because it's 5-gallon steel. You can pick it up and dump it. I see no need to put a drain on a 5-gallon steel. Also, where the Liebig connects to the line arm, it's going to be just a copper union. So no pasting. But we're hoping to have the first iteration, the 5-gallon, the simple 5-gallon steel on the website. Just, I don't know when, but as soon as we can get it up. And then, there will be upgrades that you can make to that. So the basic 5-gallon pot steel is going to be a pot and a Liebig. And then if you want a thumper and a coil, you can get a thumper and a coil. And it's kind of like modular. So if you bought the pot and the Liebig at one point, 6 months down the road, you decide you want to get a thumper and a coil, then you can get the thumper and the coil for the same pot and not have to buy a new pot. And then that way, making upgrades is easier. And those will be DIY kits also, the thumper and the coil. It's all going to be DIY kits. May I ask, how long have you been in business? And by the way, thanks for doing what you're doing. You've helped me as much just with the MeWe chat group. Yeah, Frank, the Still in the Clear started as a podcast. It was a podcast first. So I built a website first, and this was maybe 5 years ago. And then after building the website, I did an audio-only podcast on Spotify. And then after that, I started a YouTube channel. And that all kind of happened within 6 to 8 months. All of those things were created together within like 6 months or so. And that started about 5 years ago. And then, I still had another business where I did remodeling and construction. And I did that for the first 3 years, and then like 3 years into it, I was able to quit that and then just do this full time. So it's running Still in the Clear is my full-time job now. I would put a drain on it. Mine is 6-gallon and it's handy as hell to drain and not wait. That's true, like not having to wait for it to cool down. That's true. But again, little choices have to be made, little decisions have to be made about how to keep the costs down. And so the things that aren't necessary are probably going to get left out. So the drain will be something, maybe I sell drains on the website, and if someone wants to put one in themselves, solder one in, they can buy a drain and do so. We'll see how maybe it's an option that we can add to the checkout page. If you want to add the drain, you can add the drain. But then that also means that, our cutting the pieces out, one piece, you'd have to have one piece cut that doesn't have a hole for a drain, and then another piece cut that has a hole for a drain. And so then it becomes a matter of logistics, and is it worth it? But these are all the kinds of decisions that you just have to go through in your mind. I do agree with you about how convenient it is to not have to wait for it to cool down, for sure. Yeah, it is a relatively short time, Frank. It really surprised me, honestly, how fast it took off. Because, so like I said, it was about 5 years ago, and it took about 8 months for me to earn the first dollar. So for 8 months, I did it with zero monetary benefit whatsoever. I just put money into it. It just cost money for 8 months. And then 1 month I made 83 cents. And then the next month, I made like $8, and then the next month it was like $100, and it was kind of a exponential growth at the beginning. So between the first year where I hardly made anything to the second year, I think the company grossed like $80,000 in the second year. And so it was a very quick ride. I was very surprised at how quickly it took off. So this back porch, this first iteration will not include a pressure relief valve because it doesn't need one, because it is just a pot and a Liebig. So there's zero pressure buildup in that type of steel because it's an open system. Once you add a thumper, then you need a pressure relief valve. And for those steels where a thumper is added, we will have a pressure relief valve. I can't order your stills, so Road Trip is gonna have to be in the future when you get it figured out. Hell yeah, Garth. Agreed on the drain to keep the cost down. I fill my thumper with mash, and so I use the drain to get the mash because I forget to save some from, okay. Added options adds money, cost, and now the price point is out of target goals. But drains are handy. Yeah, and like, the idea of keeping the cost as low as I can to be within another budget range. There will be people that don't have the same budget concerns. Someone who could buy a North Georgia, but then they also love the idea of building their own steel. And so not everybody is going to be budget conscious, but the target that I'm going after is a budget conscious. I think it's a growing trend though on the other side. I homebrew beer, and that is waning in popularity. Yeah, Frank, I remember, homebrew was a big deal a decade ago, and now it's just, it's not nearly as big a deal. No pressure unless you get a dirt dauber in the condenser. Yeah. Make sure your Liebig is clear. Side note, just want to thank you for creating a tent for us all to come to. For sure. Yeah. I love that. I'd rather purchase from the lone wolf than a big company. Well, everybody, I'm going to jump off here and get to work. As always, thanks for hanging out with me in the mornings, drinking some coffee, talking some shit, and I will see y'all tomorrow. This was an open live. It wasn't supposed to be. I didn't hit the right button, and so, we had some peasants in here, which is awesome. And then it will be tomorrow too. We'll do an open live tomorrow, and I will see you guys in the morning. Hold on. Have you all seen Chisholm Smoke? They make a big business by selling rocket stoves, smokers, and grills. I would have never thought they would sell that great. Their shop now has lasers. No, I'm not familiar with them. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.